Minister of Education.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the Senator has raised a very important issue that has been brought to national attention frontally through the Ministry of Education and our several pronouncements about the importance of the education system and what is happening with our students, and our sharing with the national community about our education realities and what needs to be done for our students in Trinidad and Tobago. Just to explain how the ministry counts a dropout. A dropout is defined as a student under the age of 16 who initially enrolled as a part of a cohort in a given school year, but is no longer enrolled by November 30th of the following school year. And under 16 is important because that is the compulsory age of schooling in Trinidad and Tobago. So where you have a student that is over 16 that no longer chooses to attend school, the Ministry of Education is limited in its ability to make that school attendance compulsory. So on the basis of the data we have at the Ministry of Education, over the period 2017 to present at primary school, the average amount of dropouts per year would be 100 students, and in secondary school, which is 0.09%, and in secondary schools it's estimated at 0.81% or 680 students. Now, why students drop out of school? There are myriad reasons. Lack of parental supervision and support being the primary reason. Poor socioeconomic circumstances also contribute. Mental health, behavioral or physical challenges, and lack of interest, which is linked to parental supervision and support. So whatever the reason this is taking place, this is of interest to the Ministry of Education and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago should be concerned about this. So due to the fact that you have different reasons for student attrition, there are different ways that we use at the Ministry of Education to support, and not just the Ministry of Education, as I will speak to other arms of the government that are involved in dealing with student attrition. Student truancy is an offense. The Education Act requires students under the age of 16 to attend school. So when we have students who have repeated unexcused absences from school, it starts with the teacher or principal reaching out to the parent to find out what exactly is the situation at home, why the child is not attending school. In some cases, that can solve the situation. In other cases, due to other reasons, you do not get that support. Sometimes it's as simple as the parent has an out-of-date phone number on file. So you're trying to reach the parent and you cannot get through to a parent to find out why a child is not attending school. In those cases, it is escalated now to the Student Support Services Division, where the school social worker or the guidance counselor, more likely the school social worker, now attempts to do a home visit in some cases to try to find the student and the parent and to understand what's happening at the level of the home. These school social workers interact very closely with the social development officers out of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. So if there's a difficulty, sometimes an economic difficulty, they can assist in trying to provide support to the home so that the child can resume school attendance. Where this does not result in the child resuming regular attendance at school, now we turn to the community police. And we ask them to intervene, not to lock up parents, but to go to the home and see if they can now, through their mitigation, get the student to come back to school. That is always the primary focus, to get our students to come back to school. So that is the process we would take. And once the child is under 16, we would continue doing this to try to get the child, and once we can find the child, we do so. We write to the community police, identifying the child, the parent, the last known address, the last known phone number, and we ask for their assistance to bring the children back to school, because there's a point at which the school social workers can go no more. And that's when we need, at the Ministry of Education, other arms of the government to come in and to assist us. Now, where we have parents with socioeconomic challenges, we, as the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and this is not this government, this has happened for years in Trinidad and Tobago, and when we attend different education conferences, many countries are amazed by the lengths to which Trinidad and Tobago goes to get our children to school by helping to reduce the economic cost. So we have known for years that the PTSC works with the ministry to provide transport for children to get to school as far as possible. For years, we have had the National School Feeding Program, and they provide millions of breakfasts and lunches to children at school so that that no longer becomes a barrier to our children attending school. Because if children are challenged in this way, then the tendency for them to drop out is greater. So these are social programs that take place through the Ministry of Education in collaboration with other agencies to be able to assist to reduce the economic cost for our children. Students with physical issues can access free health care. Where we have mental health and behavioral issues, we have staff at the student support services at the lowest level, starting at the granular level with the school social workers and the guidance counselors to provide support. You have diagnostic specialists, they have psychologists who operate in that space as well to assist students who have mental health or behavioral issues to be able to overcome those challenges and stay in school. We also have student aids, which are provided, over 400 of them throughout the country. We do need more, and so we have partnered with the OJT program to provide student aids in school. So where we have students with physical challenges, cognitive challenges, those student aids attend every single class, every single day of school with the children, so that those children are not kept back by their ability or their disability, so that they cannot attend school. So all of this happens routinely to assist our students in getting into schools and having a productive school experience. To address the issue of lack of interest and low performance, these are also very important things that affect school and school attrition, student attrition. So the remediation program, which was launched in 80 primary schools and 26 secondary schools, these schools were specifically chosen because they have the characteristics which indicate that they need support. You have high student attrition, you have low student performance, you have students who commit a lot of infractions. And so these schools were chosen so that we can provide more resources to them to prevent student attrition from at the source. So we would have increased the number of school social workers and guidance counselors in these schools. So they have a dedicated school social worker and a guidance counselor who can deal with the caseload, because the caseload is often a lot more in these schools. We increased the learning time for students, so the vacation revision program and the after-school education program, where we provide free extra tuition for these students, again, in an effort to engage them. This program is called Re-Engaging for Success, and it is because we recognize that our students need to be engaged. If they're engaged, they are less likely to drop out, and so that's what this program addresses. Upgrading the facilities for student support services by putting dedicated officers. We recognize that in some of these schools, we need a dedicated space because social workers and guidance counselors,
Minister, you have 2 more minutes.
they need that space to be able to interact directly with students and parents. They run a parenting and education program to again involve the parents in the education process. We have started a restorative justice program in 11 of these schools where we have hired personnel to engage in school operations in a different way to allow our students to deal with conflict and challenges differently so that again they're able to succeed in the space of their schools. We have held meetings with the Girl Guides, the Boy Scouts, and the Cadets to encourage them to form chapters in these schools, and we've linked them with the NPTA to provide the resources necessary to man these chapters in these schools. We have introduced a different way of teaching and learning in these schools where they study TVET at a younger age, again to engage our students, and we have introduced the secondary exam called, what was formerly called the primary school leaving, it's called the lower secondary proficiency exam, so that if our students leave school before Form 3, in Form 2 they have this exam. So at least if they fall away, some of them are older students in Form 1 even, 14 and 15 years old, so that if they fall away, they do this exam in Form 2, so they have something in their hand that gives them the basic qualifications for government employment. So we have done that as well. You would have seen us reach out and partner with the Ministry of Youth Development for MILAT to help students who are at the risk of being expelled from school to have some continuity of education and transformation. And let me just mention in probably the very few seconds I have left that Trinidad and Tobago has a number of second chance options for our students. Through the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, if students drop out, they are classified as CHINs, and they have the MyLAT, MyPart, CCC, and other training programs. The Ministry of Social Development has the Adult Education Program. The Ministry of Education pays for a free chance to redo your CXC and gives free tuition for that. So even if students are victims of the dropout syndrome, there are opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have done well as a country to provide that, so that that is not the be-all and end-all for the life of our citizens. There are opportunities, Ministry of Community Development, lots of training opportunities. So even if our students fall prey to this, they can become productive citizens. Mr. Deputy, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice, Mr. President, I thank you.
Honourable Senators, the question is that this Senate do now adjourn to a date to be fixed. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. This Senate now stands adjourned to a date to be fixed.